Okay, this is not in our book. This is something I'm adding because it's just the next layer to solving trig equations. I'm going to call this 5.3 day 4. Today we're going to solve, as you can see, trig equations that have a number in front of the variable, or what we call a period coefficient. Okay? We're also going to be very limited on what we are going to be solving for. Just for simplicity, I'm going to say, let's stick with degrees for today. Also, we're going to stick between 0 and 360 degrees. So I'm only looking for answers to this problem between 0 and 360. Is everybody okay and happy with that?
Yes.
Okay? No radians and no 360k or 2k pi, which is an option for all of us. Okay, so you're looking at this and you're like, whoa, I don't necessarily like this because it says sine of 2x is equal to 1/2. And I say, alas, it's not that bad, because what if I told you, if I cover up the 2, could you tell me the sine of x equal 1/2? And everybody in this room should have had extensive knowledge of this now. And you're like, oh, it's a sine. It's a positive 1/2. It's in 1 and 2. There shall be 2 answers. And you would be like, oh, the answer, the sine of this angle is 1/2. And what is it? It's 30. And 150. So the sine of 30 is equal to 1/2. The sine of 150 is equal to 1/2. And that's true. The difference here, guys, is that under normal conditions, yes, this was just sine of x. So you were solving for x. Now it says 2x, so now you're solving for 2x. So now you say, hey, 2x is equal to 30 degrees. 2x is equal to 150 degrees. Does that kind of make sense? But we don't want 2x, we want x. So divide both sides by 2. So x equals, and x equals 75. Here's the thing. We can't let it be that easy. Because I'm looking for all answers of x between 0 and 360. X is only 15 and 75. Those are relatively fairly small, don't you agree? Now wait a minute. I have 2 answers right now, and you're like, under normal circumstances, I should only have 2 answers. Couldn't I take 15, multiply it by 2, which is 30, and take the sine of it, which is 1/2? It works. I have to be done. But no, unfortunately, we're not. We wanted to solve for x, but our equation has a 2x. So this 2 is going to have some implications. The implications are, I need to make this thing not an x, but a 2x. So I go through and multiply them all by 2. And if I multiply all those numbers by 2, I get 0 is less than or equal to 2x, which is less than 720. That means that the 2x, that angle I'm trying to find, actually can be between 0 and 720. X itself has to exist between 0 and 360. That means also that this 2 means I'm not going around the circle once, I'm going around the circle twice. The first pass, generally we don't even think about it, but this is one rotation. from 0 to 360, 30 and 150 are the only ones that when you take the sign give me 1/2. But I could start here, or say go to 30, and add 360. If I add 360, so if I add that 360, 2x would equal what? 360 plus the 30 is 390. Is that number, 390, between 0 and 720?
Yeah.
Okay. What about 150? Couldn't I start at 150 and add 360 to go around that circle?
Mm-hmm.
And that means 2x is equal to?
Would be 510.
510 degrees. That means I could divide these by 2. What's 390 divided by 2?
38.
100. 95? 95? 255? Now wait a minute. We said that 2x, here, 2x, had to be between 0 and 720. As 30, 150, 390, 510, all between 0 and 720. Those check. Is x between 0 and 360? 15, 75, 195, 255? Yeah. Now wait a minute. What if I didn't know? What if, I'll just add another 360, right? I'm just going to keep adding 360. So this is 360. Adding 360 until it doesn't work. So now, if I add 360 to 390, I do believe that ends up being, what, 750? The red flag goes up. Is 750 bigger than what 2x can be? Yeah, 2x says 720 is the biggest it goes. So guess what? I'm done. I stop. Now, the one thing I like to think about when I do this problem, and again, I could take 255, times it by 2, I get 510, and what's the sign of 510? It's a half. Check it out on your calculator. It works. When I think of this 2 in front here, it tells me how many times I'm going to rotate around the circle. Once, twice. The first time is something we've always done. I didn't call it rotating around the circle, right? So what I also then make a connection is, whatever this number is, if I subtract 1 from it, it'll tell me how many extra times. What's 2 minus 1?
1.
How many times did I get to go around again? 1 more time. How many answers are on the first rotation?
2.
And if I have 2 rotations, how many answers? 4. Cosine, or sine, equals 1/2 2 times. But I'm going around the circle twice, so 2 times 2 is 4. Now wait, why? Why is that? What does this 2 do to my graph? It's a period coefficient. Period coefficients are with the variable, so it always does the opposite. I'm not multiplying my period by 2, I'm actually dividing by 2. I'm making the period smaller. Guys, sine has a normal period of 2 pi. If I cut it in half, it's going to happen how fast? In pi. How many pi's can you fit in 2 pi? 2 of them. And each one of those periods has how many answers?
4.
2. And if I take 2 periods that fit in the normal size, I get 4. Because it's half the size, it happens twice as often. So the 2 becomes the 4. Questions? Put it to practice here. I want cosine of 5x equals 1/2. What happens to the period of this cosine? It is 5 times smaller, which means it happens 5 times in the normal time. How many answers are there for a cosine equaling 1/2?
2.
And if it happens 5 times, how many total answers? 10 answers. Find them on your own, please. Bless you. Now, cosine of something is 1/2. That means cosine, we're talking about positive. Where is cosine positive? First and fourth. What angle is associated with that?
60.
So we got 60 with a 60 reference, which actually leads us to what when we go all the way around? 300. So has everybody got that?
Yes.
Okay. Second of all, maybe we should fix the fact that I forgot to write this again. That x needs to be between 0 and 360. If I don't write that, then you have to add the 360k. Again, I'm not asking you to do that today for this stuff. So if I want it to say a 5x in the middle, I have to multiply all 3 parts by 5. So 0 is less than or equal to 5x, which is less than 1800. How many times extra am I going to go around the circle to find my answers? 4 times more. So 5 total, but 4 extra times. The first time, 5x equals 60 and 5x equals 300. That means x would equal, divide both sides by 5. Divide by 5 again, 60. There's 2 answers out of 10. I'm going to add 360. So now 5x equals 420. 5x equals 660. Where x equals 84. And 132. That was your first rotation. Now we are going to go to our second extra rotation. So I'm going to add another 360. Guys, I'm adding 360 to the 5x's. So I go to this one at 420, add 360, I get 780. 5x equals
1020.
Now, guys, if I don't remember how many times I'm supposed to keep rotating, eventually these numbers are going to get bigger than what?
1800.
At 1800. And at that point, I stop. Don't do it. X equals
204.
204
Oh,
and
no, that one's 156.
156.
204.
204 is the second one, correct. Then I have to add it again. Now, guys, if we were in radians, you would just have to not add 360, but add 2 pi. And make sure that when you're adding, you get a common denominator and all that stuff. That's why I'm not doing it there. It takes more time, but it's still just as easy. X equals
1140.
5x equals.
1380.
So x equals
228. 276.
and 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one, right?
Yep.
5x equals
1500.
1500. And
1740.
so these guys, you guys see what I meant by once you start rolling on this?
Yes.
It actually is pretty quick. So 300 and 348. How many answers we got? 10. And every single one of those are degrees. I left my degree symbols off. I am sorry. Okay. Really not that bad. So you guys are feeling confident, yeah? Let's shake that confidence now. Because the next one is just the other way. Guys, listen. This one, the last two examples, what I did here was showed you what happens if I take the period and shrink it down where you can fit many, many periods into the same normal, right? We also learned that you could stretch out a period by having a coefficient that's less than 1. So remember, you're dividing by a 1/3, which really means you're multiplying by 3. So it's going to not be smaller, it's going to be 3 times larger. And if it's something is 3 times larger, how many of those fit in a normal period then? None. You cannot fit one of these in its entirety into 2 pi. It takes 6 pi. If it's 3 times larger, normally 2 pi, it's now 6 pi. You can only fit 1/3 of it in. So, 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 360, yeah? To get this x to say 1/3 x, I need to divide everything by?
1/3.
Not divide by 1/3, but multiply by 1/3 or divide by 3. So 0 is less than or equal to x over 3, which is less than 120, yeah? Okay. That means when I'm solving for x over 3, which is the original starting to solve for, I'm actually only going to take answers that fall between 0 and 120. What do you think's going to happen? It's going to be very few. I'm going to have less answers. So when I stretch this thing out, I get less answers. Bless you. Okay, cosine, positive. Where? 1 and 4 again. Where is it square root of 3 over 2?
3.
Where is cosine of square root of 3 over 2?
60, no.
30s.
30.
So it's 30 and 30 down here. So it's 30 and 330. So that means x over 3 is equal to 30. And x over 3 equals 330 degrees. Are those both okay? No.
One of them is over.
One of them is over. Which one? The 330, guys. X over 3 can only go to 120. Is that 120?
No.
That's way bigger. Done. Can't. So,
You got one.
I only have one answer, which means x is equal to 90 degrees.
Oh, multiplying, yeah.
It's okay, Bob.
That's it. Done.
Really?
That's it. So you kind of like it when the coefficient is less than 1 because you usually don't have very many answers. Heck, guys, they can be to the point, listen up, it could actually be to the point where there would be none of those fall in the section we want, so there'd be no solution. Here's your homework. I want you to solve these 3 equations. Cosine of 3x equals a negative square root of 2 over 2. Sine of 1/2 x equals square root of 3 over 2. And when does tangent of 4x equal 1? Guys, decimals are okay. You can always check your answers by multiplying it and taking the sine, tangent, or cosine of it. So One of them will have decimals. I'm not telling you which one. Have a great day.
It's gonna be the third one.